Hey, what is up everyone? So I just finished playing the 8th adventure we've gotten in Sea of Thieves, the Herald of the Flame, and I got some thoughts on it. So like we do with the other adventures, let's go ahead and talk about my thoughts on it and just kind of work out how this fits in with the rest of the story and just was the quality of this adventure to where it should be. So first I'll say the adventure, it felt like it took a long time. I will say I got distracted halfway through because the way they have the adventure set up, you start off going to Liar's Backbone, then you go to a few other islands, come back to Liar's Backbone, then go to another island, then come back to Liar's Backbone again. So because of that, the likelihood of you running into someone on your way back or to there or something is pretty high just because of how many times you have to go to the same island for this adventure, and then if other people are doing the adventure, you're definitely going to run into them. And that happened for me. I was on like halfway through the adventure and I ran into some people and then they, didn't want to be friendly. I tried to be friendly with them, so they started attacking me. And yeah, so that took a little bit of a while to just deal with that. But honestly, it took about like 2 hours to do this adventure, including that whole thing. So I was getting kind of tired once we get to like that hour mark. But talking about the adventure itself, I feel like it could have been a lot better. I feel like this was rushed to get out. And the reason I say that is because it was very odd to me that so many of the things you'd expect to be like animated voice-over stuff was not there. It was just all text reading, specifically with Pendragon. So when you go to the different islands, he starts talking to you, and then you have to go up and talk to him and get like the little voice prompt things, and you have to read through that. And don't get me wrong, that's fine. That's how the game used to be. It used to not have like that much animation and voice acting for a lot of the stuff. But it just felt out of place. It felt like it should have been with the animation, the voice dialogue, and all that kind of stuff. And that could have been how it was intended to be. I feel like it was supposed to be like animated and all that stuff, because when you're also doing it, you'll be reading it, and they just like are doing random animations, and they just kept randomly saying stuff while I was trying to read through the thing, and it just felt really weird, and like it was all kind of a little buggy and wasn't really fully baked.
I used to have rather a knack for this sort of thing. His mind clearly couldn't take it. I wonder how long he spent down here. Looks like Bell was right after all. Let's see what we can learn inside.
Other than that though, I thought the adventure was okay. I do really like that they made the Devil's Roar dormant right now, because I think that makes going there and doing this adventure a lot better for newer players, which I think was the intention for this. I will say, you have to sail a lot in this adventure, and I've had this critique with other adventures, and I get it. It's a pirate game, we have ships and stuff, you're meant to sail. But I felt like sailing all the way down to, from Liar's Backbone at the top of the map down to, I forget the name of the island, like I think it's Devil's Thirst or something, all the way at the bottom of the Devil's Roar, then you gotta go back up and then over to all the way to the edge of the map and then back over Liar's Backbone. Just a whole lot of mess, and I feel like you could have made those islands a bit closer together. I really do like the return of Pendragon, having him a big focus of this one. However, what I would say with this is that I feel like this should have been a tall tale. And it's actually interesting, in the recent Sea of Thieves podcast, they actually did talk about how there's still potential to do tall tales in the future, but right now their focus is on adventures. This one really feels like the third tall tale for that like Seabound Soul, Heart of Fire storyline. And personally, I feel like you should have had this as a tall tale, and then people would have progressed through the story, because if you're new to Sea of Thieves and you haven't done the tall tales yet, you probably have no idea what's going on right now, because all of this stuff is tied into that tall tale, those two tall tales, like a lot. Like his motivations for this whole thing, what's going on with Stitcher Jim, who is Stitcher Jim. You're not really explained to this if you're a new person to Sea of Thieves or you've just played the adventures. I just find it a little weird, and I felt like this didn't really fit well with everything. Like in terms of the storyline that's going on through all these adventures, they are cohesive and they do make sense together, but from having some of the storyline being a tall tale that's permanent and can be always replayed, and then have other ones only available for 2 weeks, just seems really odd to me. But other than that, I will say I did enjoy this tall tale a good amount. I felt like the gameplay was decent. It didn't seem too hard for someone playing solo. I was playing solo for this, and that was one thing I was a little worried about because, spoiler alert, the final ending of this adventure is you're fighting an Ashen Lord who's actually Stitcher Jim, which that's really cool to see. I got some nice footage of Stitcher Jim as the Ashen Lord, and I thought that was really cool. I enjoyed seeing Stitcher Jim again, and I thought this was a natural progression of his story. And I'm also really excited to see where this goes next, because also in that podcast that they had recently, they talked about how the next followed up adventure to end this season is going to be this big massive event, similar to how Lost Sands was, where we're going to have a community choice. And I'm guessing it's going to have to deal with the good side, with like Pendragon and stuff being on one side of it, and then resurrecting Flameheart on the other side. So it's going to be very interesting to see who wins. Last time the good guys won, maybe this time the bad guys will win and Flameheart will return. One thing that I do have a criticism of is, I mentioned at the end of the adventure you do like a fight with the Ashen Lord and stuff, and you get some rewards like you normally get from an Ashen Lord's event, but the rewards here were pretty lackluster. It was like the Chest of Rage, which that's good, and then like a few Castaway chests and like a few like really like bad skulls, like, you know, like the Foul Bounty and stuff that aren't that valuable. I actually left a good amount of it back inside the vault because it wasn't worth it for me to take. You don't even get the Ashen Wind skull because in part of this adventure was like him taking the skull and destroying it. I don't know why they didn't compensate you with something else. I think that would have been nice, but whatever. I can move past that. I just think it's a little frustrating that we did a world event basically and didn't get the amount of reward you get from a world event. One side note I have to mention, this is actually the first time I've done like a world event on Molten Sands Fortress, because I don't really care too much for the Devil's Roar. I think it's a really cool looking place, but with all like the earthquakes and volcanic eruptions and stuff, it's just not very fun, especially as a solo player most of the time. So I usually stick away from it. But I really love the design of Molten Sands Fortress. It's not very friendly if you're trying to get your ship close to it. It's kind of hard. There's a lot of like sandbanks and stuff blocking your way to get close to the island. But just like the design of it, where the vault is at the bottom and stuff, and like the little tunnel and everything, I thought it was all really cool looking. And with this being the first time I ever seen it, it was all kind of new for me. So I just really enjoyed that aspect of the adventure, being able to explore this island that I haven't really ever taken the time to look at. Alright, so moving on. If we want to talk about the memento this time, the Stitcher Jim's like shirt, it goes well with Stitcher Jim and stuff, and I get that, you know, it fits the theme of this one because it's really about Stitcher Jim, but I could never see myself using this. It doesn't look that good to me. I think one problem with this adventure that we've had in previous adventures is spawn camping and people just kind of ruining the adventure for others. I can see that being a problem because the route that you have to go through is very predictable, and I could really see a lot of people waiting over at the Molten Sands Fortress where the Ashen Winds event happens. I could see people just kind of camping that out, waiting for someone to finish the event, and then just stealing all the loot. That would be something really simple for them to do, and I think it's a problem that Sea of Thieves needs to address, because like for me, if I got spawn camped there and I couldn't finish the adventure, I don't think I would have done the adventure again, because it's just not worth it for spending like an hour and a half, 2 hours trying to do it. I think I kind of covered my thoughts on this. Honestly, this adventure's fine. I wouldn't say I was too excited for it when it came out. Like, it looked interesting. The story is what intrigues me about it, but the gameplay was just kind of whatever. It's definitely not my favorite adventure, but it was better than my expectations were, so that's good. And I'm really excited to see where this ends up, with this whole storyline ends with Flameheart and the good guys versus each other in the next adventure. But that's all I have for this video. If you enjoyed it, it'd be great if you like and subscribe, and let me know in the comments below what you think about this adventure. What did you like? What did you dislike? Let's talk about it all in there. But until next time, thanks for watching, and I'll see y'all later. Bye y'all.